Today's film is a thriller sport from 1996 titled The Fan. The movie begins with an obsessive baseball fan named Gil Renard. He's a die-hard supporter of San Francisco Giants outfielder Bobby Rayburn. Eager to connect, Gil calls into a radio show where Bobby is the guest host. After the call, Gil drives to his workplace where he sells high-end knives from the family business his father once ran. When his boss confronts him about a knife model that has recently received negative reviews, Gil bluntly points out its flaws, a level of honesty his boss doesn't appreciate. Meanwhile, Bobby faces problems of his own. He has just signed a major contract with the Giants, but his lucky jersey number, 11, has been given to a new teammate, Juan Primo. Bobby is clearly unsettled by this and asks his agent, Manny, to help him reclaim the number. As the Giants players prepare for the season, reporters gather at the stadium to cover the team. A persistent journalist named Jewel sneaks into the locker room and pleads with Manny for another interview with Bobby, but Manny brushes her off. The next day, Gil is out selling his knives to local businesses. In a desperate attempt to prove their sharpness, he humiliates himself by shaving his legs in front of potential clients to make the sale. The baseball season kicks off, and the opening games quickly sell out. Desperate to attend, Gil buys overpriced tickets from a group of street hustlers. Meanwhile, while visiting an old client who shows no interest in purchasing his knives, Bobby and his agent Manny make a goodwill visit to a young cancer patient. However, the experience deeply unsettles Bobby. Seeing the harsh reality of illness and death, he asks Manny to cancel any future charity appearances of that nature. The following day, Gil faces another setback that pushes his patience to the limit. He arrives just a few minutes late to an important sales meeting and loses the opportunity to pitch his knives to a wealthy businessman. His assistant reschedules the meeting and urges him to be punctual next time. The next morning, Manny updates Bobby with bad news. Primo now demands $500,000 to give up the number 11 jersey. Frustrated, Bobby decides to abandon the issue entirely and stop pursuing the number. When opening day arrives, Gil picks up his young son, Richie, from his ex-wife's home. She clearly doubts Gil's ability to properly care for their son, but he reassures her and takes Richie to the game. As they settle into their seats at the stadium, Bobby is seen wearing a number 11 pendant instead of his lucky jersey, showing that he still clings to the significance of the number in some way. As the game begins, Gil urges his son to pay attention, but Richie quickly loses interest. Gil watches the game with intense enthusiasm, but only when Bobby is involved in the action. At one point, Bobby and Primo both sprint to catch a fly ball and collide mid-play. During the fall, Bobby's necklace falls off and gets lost. He's taken backstage to get his ribs checked by a doctor, but Manny tells him to suck it up for the $40 million contract he signed. As the game resumes, Gil abruptly decides to leave his son Richie alone in the stands to rush to the sales appointment his assistant had rescheduled. However, just as he's about to exit, a foul ball rockets into the audience. In a frantic moment, Gil completely forgets his priorities. He even shoves his son aside in his desperate attempt to catch the ball, but he ultimately fails. Shaken but still obsessed, Gil initially heads out to salvage his appointment, but as soon as Bobby steps up to bat, Gil dissociates from everything else and sits back down, fully absorbed in watching his idol. Gil's emotional swings become more apparent. He celebrates wildly when Bobby performs well, but when Bobby strikes out, Gil lashes out, swearing at him as though he's personally offended. His obsession reveals itself as conditional. He doesn't truly admire Bobby as a person, but worships the idea of his perfection. Bobby eventually hits a home run to win the game, but in the chaos, Gil forgets about Richie and leaves the stadium. Once again, he arrives late for his sales meeting, missing the opportunity entirely. This time, his assistant refuses to schedule another appointment, sending Gil into a rage. Gil immediately rushes back to the stadium to pick up his son, but by the time he arrives, the people sitting next to them have already taken Richie home. Frustrated, Gil heads to his ex-wife's house, where she refuses to let him see their son. Losing control, Gil shoves her aside and forces his way into the house. He locks himself in Richie's room, trying to comfort his son with food while his ex-wife yells from outside the locked door, threatening to call the police. Word of Gil's outburst spreads quickly, and soon he is fired from his job. When he protests, reminding his boss that his father started the company, the boss puts him in his place by reminding him that his father was merely a craftsman. Gil quietly swallows his anger, but the suppression only worsens his mental state. He returns to his motel room, where his life continues to unravel. There, he is served with a restraining order, legally barring him from seeing his son. Gil, however, refuses to take it seriously and goes to watch Richie's school baseball game anyway. Observing from the stands, Gil grows concerned when his son underperforms on the field. Desperate to help, he attempts to approach Richie, but his ex-wife's new partner physically restrains him. Overwhelmed by pent-up rage and frustration, Gil nearly attacks the man and storms onto the field, aggressively coaching Richie on his playing position in front of everyone. His ex-wife soon arrives at the scene, shoving Gil away and furiously warning him to leave immediately, or she will have him arrested. This confrontation severely impacts Gil's already fragile mental health. His obsession with perfection and control begins to fully consume him, as his personal life continues to spiral out of control. Meanwhile, Bobby is also struggling. His performance on the field steadily declines, and deep down, he secretly blames his bad streak on the loss of his lucky jersey. Bobby's career starts to take a toll, and he is now on the verge of losing his endorsement deals and possibly his contract. In desperation, Manny pleads with sports journalist Jewel to feature Bobby on her show, hoping the interview will give him a chance to explain himself and repair his public image. Meanwhile, Gil's life keeps falling apart. He has no job and isn't allowed to see his son anymore. With nothing left, Gil becomes obsessed with following Bobby. He even starts calling Bobby over and over, but hangs up as soon as Bobby answers. This only makes his obsession worse. As time passes, Bobby's young son, Sean, arrives to spend the holidays with him. Manny joins Bobby and Sean on a car ride, using the opportunity to persuade Bobby to finally agree to an interview with Jewel. Wanting to regain control over his narrative, Bobby meets with Jewel in person to talk about what they should cover in the interview. When the next game begins, Bobby's teammate Primo steals the spotlight by outperforming Bobby on the field. This enrages Gil, who has never been accustomed to seeing Bobby fail so consistently. Still, Gil clings to hope that Bobby will redeem himself. After the game, fans swarm around Primo, celebrating his success, while Bobby is booed by a hostile crowd. Though Bobby does his best to ignore them, the negativity clearly affects him. Among the disappointed fans is Gil, who enthusiastically tries to cheer Bobby on, but Bobby doesn't even notice him. From this point forward, Gil becomes fully consumed by his obsession. He meticulously tracks Bobby's movements and begins following him everywhere. Eventually, Gil discovers Bobby's secluded beach house where Sean is staying. One night, Gil follows Primo and his friends to a bar. By surprise, Bobby shows up there too. Gil tries to talk to him but gets ignored right away. He goes to the bathroom, and soon after, Bobby and Primo also walk in. Bobby starts arguing with Primo about the number 11 jersey. Gil listens to everything from the stall and quickly makes a plan. Later, when Bobby is on Jewel's radio show, Gil calls in again. Without saying he overheard their private fight, he firmly tells Bobby to forget about the jersey and to let go of his problems with Primo. Bobby finds it strange that Gil knows so much. As a joke, Bobby tells Gil to go talk some sense into Primo, not realizing that Gil is recording the call and taking his words seriously. Soon after, Gil follows Primo to a hotel and waits for a chance to speak to him alone. He finds Primo in the sauna and politely asks him to give up the jersey number. Primo is shocked by the request and insults Gil, telling him to leave. But Primo has no idea how far Gil is willing to go. Gil suddenly stabs Primo in the thigh, killing him right there. He feels no guilt at all, thinking he has just helped Bobby get his lucky jersey back. Primo's tragic murder quickly makes the news, and people start to suspect Bobby. The accusations take a toll on Bobby's mental health and affect his performance in the games. After losing another match, Bobby pulls away from everyone around him. Manny visits him and gives him a pep talk to help him through this tough time. In his next game, Gil sees that Bobby is still struggling. Determined to fix it, Gil stalks Bobby again, this time at the beach. While watching from a distance, Gil sees Bobby's son, Sean, drowning in the ocean. Gil risks his life to save Sean, and Bobby is grateful. As a thank you, Bobby invites Gil to stay at his beach house for a short time. As they spend more time together, Gil slowly begins to show his true colors. When Bobby offers him a beer and invites him to play pool, Gil feels like he's finally bonding with his hero, someone he's always looked up to. But when Bobby casually says that baseball isn't that important to him, Gil snaps. They play catch on the beach, and during their conversation, Bobby tells Gil that his family and personal life matter more to him than baseball. Gil, still convinced that killing Primo was beneficial for Bobby, is shocked to discover that Bobby is actually devastated by Primo's death. Feeling betrayed, Gil insults Bobby for not taking baseball seriously and decides it's time to teach him a lesson. When Bobby leaves Gil alone for a moment, Gil seizes the opportunity to kidnap Bobby's son, Sean, and drives away in his car. Moments later, Bobby realizes Sean is missing and frantically calls Gil from his car. Gil calmly answers and tells Bobby to check his refrigerator. Inside, Bobby finds a skin patch with the number 11 burned into it, the same number that was tattooed on Primo's shoulder. It's a chilling clue, confirming Gil was involved in Primo's murder. Now on the run, Gil hides out at the home of an old acquaintance and holds him hostage as well. After some time, Gil calls Bobby again. By now, the police are involved and are attempting to trace Gil's call. Bobby, desperate, asks Gil what he wants. But Gil demands respect first, claiming that players like Bobby are nothing without fans like him. This shows just how far Gil's obsession has gone. He truly believes he made Bobby who he is. Gil lays out his demands. First, Bobby must start playing well again and hit a home run in his next game. Second, Bobby must publicly introduce Gil to the crowd after the victory and credit him for his success. Before the police can trace the call, Gil quickly hangs up. Meanwhile, Gil forces Sean to play baseball with him and his friend, acting as if everything is normal. During the game, Gil's friend helps Sean escape. Gil sees this as a betrayal and, in a violent rage, kills his friend. Gil quickly hunts Sean down and kidnaps him again before disappearing from the area. By the time the police arrive at Bobby's car location, Gil is long gone. On the night of the big game, Gil calls Jewel live on her radio show to taunt her. Jewel immediately recognizes his voice and tries to stall him so the police can track the call, but Gil catches on and hangs up before they can find him. As the game begins, Bobby struggles to perform under extreme pressure, knowing Sean's life is in danger. Suddenly, heavy rain delays the game. While the police continue their search, they question Gil's son, Richie, who eventually tells them about an old stadium where Gil used to spend time. Acting quickly, the police head there. When the rain clears and the game resumes, Bobby is down to 2 strikes. It starts to rain again, but Bobby finally hits a home run. As he rounds the bases, the umpire, acting unusually, calls him out. Bobby immediately realizes something is wrong. It's Gil in disguise as the umpire. The police quickly surround the field and demand that Gil reveal Sean's location. Gil refuses and, in a final act of madness, throws a knife at Bobby. The police shoot Gil dead before the knife can reach him. Soon after, they find Sean safe at the old stadium. In the end, Gil's dangerous obsession, fueled by his twisted view of perfection and false belief that he made Bobby great, leads to his downfall and death. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.